rigor.
You know, so, Nirmala ji, if I look at this budget, coming to this budget, the central theme, and you know, you've elaborated, you've articulated it in your speech subsequently as well, but I would still like to ask this question, that there is a big push to capital expenditure on one hand, on the other you've also given a lot of money into the hands of the middle class and the rich, so that there is a consumption boom. You know, all this while keeping the fiscal discipline in place, you know, as you had promised. 5.9%, so that's giving some comfort to everyone. What I want to understand is, what are the few outcomes, big outcomes that you're looking at from this budget?
If well executed, if the states and the center work together, I expect tourism to really see a sea change. Flow of people coming in both from one other states and also from abroad. It should actually be a good way of, you know, keeping the economy active. If that is going to be this year and also medium term, I also see the momentum that PM Vikas scheme is going to come up with. Because what it does, at least from the way in which I have done this work on understanding that scheme and to see how best it can be tailored, it touches that segment which is sort of self-employed, which has skills, which may be traditional skills, but which are very productively used, and that itself has a huge market, niche market of its own. If by launching PM Vikas, we will be able to touch upon a large section, not confined to any particular few castes, which go by the description Vishwakarma. But we are including everybody who uses his hand with some tools, produces things. That's a huge layer which doesn't get covered under A scheme or B scheme or C scheme. Now we are touching them. We are actually giving that material difference of receiving better attention, better raw material, better marketing, better professionalized way of aggregation and so on, with better fair rated credit from bank and so on. I think that layer, which has remained unseen, untouched till now, but very recognized because of the quality of products that they produce, will now make a big difference to us. Equally, the push on green is not going to be any less. In every sector, there's been provisions made in the budget for them to do the transition from depending on fossil fuel to a renewable energy source based fuel. And that will touch every walk of life, not just farmers, not just women in household, both from the point of view of user and also producer. You will generate enough power for yourself and be able to also sell it. And the final but most important, I would think, is the way we are going to shake up and also give life to the self-help women's groups which exists in the rural parts of the country. Some states have extraordinarily done well on SHGs in the last few decades. It's not as if they have been formed only today. A couple of decades they've been on the ground. 81 lakh of them, groups, exist. And it is they who we are now trying to aggregate, bring them together like clusters, see what they want to do in terms of production or services. For instance, I just bring in a very private sector example. Lijjat, the papad, after all was a women's somewhat self-help group. Look at the kind of product, the quality, the branding, the perception about what is Lijjat can always be superior in quality. There's never a compromise on it, and people seek it, even though from the general papad pricing it is slightly higher in price, but still people prefer it. So like that, SHGs, and I don't want just to end with papad making, it should be everything else also. So depending on the skill sets available, the raw material available, we want to make sure that SHGs do come in to benefit from government policy and also through digital marketing, run professionally as well.
That's interesting. You know, your budget was very well received by the markets. In fact, while you were speaking, the markets were really going up. But you know, the rout in the Adani stocks somewhat spoiled the party. You know, there is a general nervousness in the market. How does your government see this?
I look at the budget for having covered all the sections of the society. We've tried, and it has been a detailing that which has consumed a lot of time in preparation of this budget. The details is what has brought the difference in touching so many different sectors and segments of our society. We've got something on offer for each one of them. So therefore, if it's being received very well, I'm very glad. But of course, that motivates me to be able to now take it upon myself to better implement it down to the last person who's aimed at. So I would think the impact of the budget, the immediate impact of the budget on the market, and subsequent to, let's say, for whatever reason it trailed back, I think in the next few days the budget's impact will still continue to hold the markets high.
You know, the opposition is taking aim at your government, saying that the banking and insurance companies have large exposure in Adani stocks. You know, and the investors and the broader market is looking to you for some direction on this issue. Is our banking and insurance system resilient to take this shock?
I want to recall the words, you know, coming from the horse's mouth has greater credibility. Both the SBI and LIC have issued detailed statements, and I know the chairperson or the CMD has himself come out and explained how they are not overexposed or whatever they said.
Yes.
And also said, look, we are sitting over profits for the exposure that we have, which is well within the limit. That's what I understand they have
Yes.
said, and I've again read it through the media.
They
They have very clearly said that their exposure is very well within the permitted limits, and that they are, even now with the valuation falling as well, they are still sitting over profit. So if that is the horse's mouth, as I refer to, word from the horse's mouth, but in general, both with the RBI, we do have the Financial Stability Board's meeting, which happens once in 6 months. We meet,
Yes.
even recently we have met. So I can only very clearly say, both the RBI and we, because of the FSB's meeting, Financial Stability Board's meeting, know that the Indian banking system, if anything, at this stage, for me to use this word, I want to use it with a sense of responsibility, like having gone through the twin balance sheet problem. Indian banking sector today is at a comfortable level, with their NPAs coming down to absolutely low levels,
Yes.
recovery is happening, and their position is very sound, which gets reflected in the fact that when they go to raise monies in the market, they are absolutely comfortably raising monies as well. So the entire macroeconomic analysis which any expert would do also highlights the fact that how comfortable the Indian banks are placed in. That cannot be that if they are at risk.
Some of the global investors as well, you know, as a knee-jerk reaction, seem to have pulled out some money in the last couple of days. Some have put, you know, fresh investments on hold. What would your message be to the global investors?
India remains, as before, an absolutely well-governed, stable government, and also very well, regulated financial market. And as a result, I think the investor confidence which existed before shall continue even now. Our regulators are normally very, very stringent about certain governance practices, and therefore they should, one instance, however much talked about globally it may be, I would think is not going to be indicative of how well Indian financial markets are governed. So many lessons have been learned over the decades, and therefore I think our regulators have kept our market well in prime and prim condition.
Thank you. That's very